Well, hello everybody as you come in. Um, just want to welcome you first and foremost, whether you come back to watch this live or if you join us. Okay, well, hello. My name is Tanya Lofty, and I want to introduce myself to some. Some people have known me for quite some time, but I have a master's in education, and I have a child care facility that I've run for 17 years. All right, this year's been 17 years. I am also a parent myself. All right, and so I have children. I'm entering the other phase of it. And so I have a 21-year-old, almost 22, and I have a 18-year-old, 18, almost 18. All right. And so I've been a parent longer than I've been in the field of childcare. But I really want to talk about this. I am a true advocate for families and children. And as you all know, or you may not know, the first 5 years are the most formative years in a child's life. All right. And so I just want to share that with you that these years are so formative in your child's life. And so I do have the Master's of Education that goes to the age of 12. All right. So I want to share that information with you, but I also want to share my personal experience as a parent, okay, because I am a parent as well. And so I want to blend those two to come to you to share some information. Now, there are four types of parenting styles, okay? And so I want to talk about them with you. And if you come back in, if you have questions, comments, please feel free to leave your comments or your questions, all right? But I want to talk about these parenting styles and how it will affect your child's behavior and how it will affect how they contribute or how they will act in society. Okay. And the first 5 years are the most formative because this is the time when your child is learning and they're just like a sponge. They are soaking up everything, right? Everything you say, everything you do, everything you don't do. All right. And sometimes as parents, we want the best for our children, but we don't know how to go about implementing that. All right. So let's talk about these different parenting styles. All right. There's authoritarian. Now, the authoritarian sounds just like it is, right? Authoritarian. You believe that kids should be seen and not heard. When it comes to rules, it's your way or the highway, right? It's just do, say, without giving any instructions, without ever allowing the child to understand fully what you are trying to relay, right? So that may look like, no, don't do that. No explanation, um, no anything. And so if the child does not listen to you, there may be some kind of ramification. It's usually just talking not talking to, excuse me, talking at. And one thing you don't want to do with children is talk at. And the reason I say you don't want to talk at them, because how, if you're have this, if this is your parenting style, authoritarian, how is the child able to learn? Right? So they only know and understand how to, you're training the child to only know how to take instruction, but not to process or critically think. And what we want your child to do, not just in childcare, right? But this, again, this goes along. It starts well before they get into school. Listen to me. As an advocate for children, the first 5 years are so formative. And so it starts before they go to school. The behaviors are very important. And this is what we're seeing even now, especially since the we're coming out of the pandemic, right? A lot of children were home, they weren't getting instruction, or they may not have gotten the instruction. And so parents were balancing and trying to juggle so many things. And kudos to you just for being a parent, first and foremost. Okay. It's not always easy, but what we want to do and what I want to do is give you tools and tips and resources, because it's still your responsibility, right? Whether you like it or not, it's still your responsibility as a parent, all right? The parents are the ones who are held responsible for the children, all right? So you don't care how the child feels if you're an authority, if you have taken on the posture of an authoritarian parenting, all right? You don't care, their say so doesn't matter. And so basically you stifle the child. I want to talk about it from both perspectives, the developmental side, from the parenting side, all right, and what that does and what that will end up looking like in a classroom setting. So the child has no idea what to do or how to handle themselves, and nor do they know how to critically think. And what we want to do is help children guide their behaviors, right? Guiding the behavior of a child is completely different from just telling them what to do all of the time. Okay. And so if this is you, okay, they have to follow the rules. There's no exception. I'm going to talk about this. There's no exception. My way, the highway, is usually if you're this way, it's usually very harsh punishments that come with this type of parenting. All right. Because you did not listen, because you did not do what I said, you focus on obedience, punishment over discipline. Like you're just punishing the child. So the child never really gets to critically think. There's going to be a gap with their social emotional skills as well, because they aren't heard or seen, right? It's just to do. So there's going to be this social emotional gap that happens with the child. And that's it's very dangerous for a child not to be able to, or any person to be able to express themselves. And that's when you normally see where you have almost like the pot boiling over, right? Because the child or that person, think about you as an adult, as a parent, or, as a person, if something is not discussed or you're not allowed to express yourself, right? Things are going to boil over and you're going to pop. It's the same with the child. They're just little people. And so I really want, this is my passion, is early childhood education and with that, educating parents. Okay. So the authoritarian parenting style is not that effective, because you're not allowing the child to have or work with themselves, have the social emotional skills that they need. And so you're going to have the child that's going to boil over, just like you would as an adult. You're going to boil over, you're going to pop. And so that authoritarian piece is not the way to parent. Okay. Let's see. I want you to hear that. Okay. Now we have the permissive parent. Oh boy. Listen, you set rules, but you don't enforce your rules. You don't give out consequences. You think your child will learn best with little interference from you. And parents, I'm telling you, from an education perspective, as an educator, as an early childhood educator, this is the most horrendous thing you can do because the child is running things. Okay. So you think, oh, no, it's okay. And so when they go into a classroom setting, they don't know how to listen. They don't listen. They think that I can do whatever I want. And so it's not just about the age, right? It's not just, okay, if I'm a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, it's my will is the way. And when you do this permissive, where you just allow the child to indulge in any and everything without any boundaries, it's a problem. And what happens is with the behavior becomes, it magnifies so much that what happens is no one can tell the child what to do, right? And as a permissive parent, what you are saying is, I give my child the right to do whatever they want. And when you bring a child into a classroom setting of any sort, and I really want to talk about that, especially even as a parent, because the time that you call your child, when you have this permissive parenting where you allow them to do whatever, there could be an emergency. And because you have allowed the child to never respond when you call them, if a car was coming down the street and they were headed to the road, or it's a fire or something of that nature that is of detriment and to the well-being and safety of you and your child is not going to listen. And you can't expect your child to listen at that very moment when you have allowed a behavior to continue. It's damaging to your relationship of the parent and the child. And so I really want to talk to you about that, because the moment something is happening, they're not going to answer you. They're not going to respond. And I don't, we've heard of it, but unfortunately, sometimes those results don't end well. The parent, you could lose your child, and this is not what we want. Okay. So I really want to talk about that's why I'm talking about these parenting styles. Okay. You're quite forgiving. And you adopt an attitude, kids will be kids. Well, it's our job to guide the behavior. It's our job as parents, the adult, our job is to guide the behavior, right? It's to guide them into what's the best way to handle a situation. It's our job to help them to think critically. It's our job to help them to make choices that are wise, right? And so even when, as adults, we don't always make choices that are wise, but what are the consequences behind those choices? So if I call my child 3 times and that my child has yet to answer me, then that is when, as a parent, we have to say, no, that's not okay, and make them have a seat. It's okay to make your child have a seat. It's okay to put on a timer to say, you owe me 2 to 3 minutes because you did not listen. And we have to tell them the why behind it. So it's not, the authoritarian parent is, no, just don't do it. Sit down. Don't do anything. No guidance, right? But the permissive parent is saying, oh, you can do whatever. You can jump off the roof. You hurt yourself. It's okay. You're a child. Or you could push that kid. It's okay. Or you don't have to listen. You can run toward the street and I'll just grab your hand. It was my fault as the parent. And it's not your fault as the parent. The issue becomes when you don't address the behavior. That is when it becomes an issue. Because now, as a parent, it's not okay. And as for the child, it's not okay. And the safety and well-being of you and that child could be in detriment. Because if the child runs, I just want to give another example of this. If the child runs into the street and you both have to run out, God forbid if that car can't stop in time. And so I just really want to share that with you, all right, that it's not okay to be permissive in the sense where you allow any and everything to happen, and you take on more of a friend role to where the child thinks they can get away with anything. I mean, in my tenure, I've seen this. I've seen, because of the permissiveness of a parent, I've seen a child slap a parent. I'm talking a toddler, literally slap the parent. I mean, not like playing in the face. I mean, okay. And the parent did nothing. And, so I just want to share about this parenting style. Okay. Then you have the uninvolved parent. You don't ask about their homework, their day, nothing. Okay. You just kind of like, okay, you pick them up. You don't have any conversation. And again, the social emotional piece of parenting is very important. I always say this to parents, and as a parent myself, it's not about academically what a child can do. That is great. It has its place. But the environment must call for a child to explore and be safe. So the environment has to call for you as the parent to be able to parent, know that the child feels that they have boundaries. And let me say it this way. As a parent, right? You sitting in a space, and if you feel safe, learning automatically takes place. The learning will automatically take place in a space, that you feel safe, because your guards are down. But if you are only focused on the academics, but the behavior piece is not there, then that's a problem. All right. So that uninvolved parent, you don't ask about homework. You don't ask about their day. You don't ask. I mean, I'm even talking now, I can kind of go upward some with this, even regarding to teenagers. Don't take your hands off the wheel as a parent. And so, I'm speaking from my profession, but I'm also speaking from experience as a parent. All right. And so spend time with your child. If it's reading, if it's, you had a good day, you're building language, you're building social emotional, you're building a continuous bond with your child. And what we see now going on in the home and the classroom, there's a disconnect, right, between the home and the classroom and what's being relayed. And so the child is not able to express themselves, and they don't have a safe space at times to express themselves, whether it's a good situation or bad. And so you see this fundamental breakdown between the two, which should be working as a unit. Home works as a unit with childcare and school, right? And so you work as a unit for the need of the child. So I want to bring that up, but I really want to touch on the parent perspective, because you still have to play a role in your child's behavior, all right? And what's taking place and what's happening is you see this rampant acceleration of disobedience, even in the classroom, to where the teachers can't manage the classroom. And teachers are, leaving the profession, unfortunately, at a very alarming rate. And it's sad, because we need our teachers. We need our teachers. Parents, we need our teachers. And parents, teachers need your help. And so I'm speaking, I can speak from both perspectives, all right? So we talked about the authoritarian, who is say and do as I say. We talked about the permissive parent that allows anything, any and everything, or maybe you don't allow any and everything, but you allow too many things to go unchecked or unnoticed, all right? Then you have the uninvolved parent, all right? I'm sorry to say that is to me, is one of the worst, but again. Okay, so now let's talk about the authoritative parenting, all right? You put a lot of effort into creating and maintaining, a positive relationship with your child. You explain the reasons behind your rules. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. You set limits and you enforce them. You give consequences, but take your child's feelings into consideration. So I want to give you an example. A child is upset. It's time, that it's time they're on their way to school or a friend's house. And maybe they have that special toy that, if someone is around them or going to take it or touch it, they're going to get very upset. They may get a little aggressive. So the best thing to do, parent, is not to take that toy with them. What? Yeah, that's the best thing to do, because you have to think through the whole process. This is going to be an issue. So you have 5 minutes with this toy, and I understand you're going to be upset, or you are upset. It's okay to acknowledge the child's emotions, right? It's okay, because we do get upset. We get angry, we get sad, we get upset. All of those are emotions. It is okay if you're upset. However, it's not okay if you fall out and hurt yourself and hit the wall and kick mommy or daddy. That part of the behavior is never going to be okay. And so what you have to say is, no, thank you. That's not okay. And I'm going to take the toy. If you fall out again when I take the toy, you will not get the toy again. You will not have the toy for a while. Those are the boundaries that you're setting, because now they know, I can't do that. If I do that, there are consequences to what I do. When our children were younger, I want to say my children are like 3.5 years apart. So they play sports, they did a lot of things. And so, we would be in the vehicle and they would get, pretty loud. And we set a rule in the vehicle that your voice is not to go above that of the radio. If their voice went above that of the radio, then everybody has to stop talking, because you're having a conversation with your brother and mommy and daddy are having a conversation. And it's okay if we both have conversations, but you can't be above everything. We're not louder than you all are, and vice versa. It's respect. It's showing your child how to navigate and work through different scenarios, critically think, and to understand that there are consequences for your actions. There's always a reaction to something that is done. And so if you're teaching them this young, the more they will begin to understand, okay, I can't do that. There are rules, there are boundaries. And so I wanted to say that enforce your rules, give consequences, take their feelings into consideration. I know you're upset, but guess what, parent? You have feelings too. And you should probably express those feelings to your child. Mommy's upset right now. I don't like what you did. That hurt my feelings, and whatever that consequence or whatever, however you're going to move. Okay. So I'm not happy at this moment with your behavior, and you hurt my feelings, because what you're teaching your child is empathy, to how to understand that someone else's emotions matter too. All right. And so I really wanted to talk to you all about that. And then you may be able to come back and have a conversation. But there are certain times with this authoritative parenting where you have to express. I mean, I've done that with my children. They were so used to asking, I say, come here, or they're like, why? Well, every time I call you, I'm not going to be able to give you the answer for it. You need to come first, and then maybe we can have a discussion. Because if it is something that is of detriment, again, to your health or safety or the well-being, i.e. a fire, i.e. An earthquake, i.e. something of that nature where we have to go, then I don't have time to explain why I called you. You understand? So I want to give you all some scenarios so that it can be realistic, because sometimes as parents we think, oh no, that's not going to happen to me, or whatever. It doesn't equate to me. But that's not the case, because these are emergency situations that could come up at any time. And so we have to be as prepared as possible, because we have to think on the, just like this. So we have to teach our children to think critically and to understand that there are consequences. Because once they go into the classroom, and unfortunately sometimes you see this, a child is academically inclined, however their behavior is not what it should be. All right, so what happens is the teacher does not see your child as academically inclined. The teacher sees your child as a problem, because every time I ask your child to do something, they won't do it. And so now what we have is an issue in the classroom. So we can't even get to the academics because of the behavior. So if the behavior is not what it needs to be, how can learning take place? And in a classroom setting of whatever size that may be, if there's more than just your child in the classroom, then that's going to be a situation. Because if your child doesn't listen, and I'm calling them or I'm asking them to come here, and I'm kind of trying to redirect or direct their behavior and trying to gain control of my classroom, I cannot if your child is a challenge with me with regarding their behavior and not listening. And so I wanted to share this. I wanted to keep it brief, but listen, drop if you have questions about your parenting style, or questions on how to correct something or redirect, or how do I move forward from here, please feel free to drop your questions. This was created for you all. Again, 17 years in this profession of early childhood development, 21 years as a parent. And, my children are safe, healthy, and whole. All right. So I wanted to talk to you as a parent because you need to understand, and developmentally is great. There's, I'll drop some more links in here, and you can continue to follow Enrichment on the Go YouTube channel. We have a lot of resources for you all as parents. All right. And so we always want to just give you tips, tools, and resources to be the best parents you can. And it's never too late to correct that, but you have to be willing. Just as long as it was permissive, now you have, or you allowed a behavior, you're going to have to give yourself and the child time to regroup, because now you're implementing something new. And trust me, they're going to make sure, or they're going to see, is mommy or daddy going to keep doing what they're trying to implement. So they're going to push those boundaries. Like, is this real or is this a one-off? And so they're going to try you, and they want to see how far they can go with you, right? They are going to see how far they can go. And so as long as you continue to set those boundaries and adhere to it, parents, I know they're going to cry. They give you the face, and you like, oh, you look into their eyes and you see the little puppy dog eyes, and you think, oh, no, I can't do this to my child. Yes, you can, because you are setting your child up to be able to listen, to be able to follow instructions. And this is going to pay off in the classroom, and not just in the classroom, in society. If a police officer turns on their lights, your child will stop. They won't keep going. Okay, so the rules and the guidelines to guiding the behavior, follow them through their life. It models how they will act as an adult. They're little children now. They're just little people that are going to become adults. And if there are no rules now, there aren't going to be rules for them later. They're going to think that I can do what I want to do when I get good and ready. And so I'll encourage you to be the authoritative parent, all right, by setting boundaries and guidelines and adhering to them. If it makes you sad, I know I deal with a lot of first-time parents. I was a first-time parent. All right, I've been there. But you have to set these rules and boundaries, because it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference in how they act in the classroom and act with you. No one wants their child. Most parents, a lot of times they'll get embarrassed if you're out in somewhere and your child starts falling out. Well, a toddler's going to pretty much fall out. But if you count to 3, or you have different transitions where it's like 1, 2, 3. If they don't stop, don't feel embarrassed. Sit them down. Stop them. Don't allow them to continue in the behavior or feel embarrassed. you're trying to make sure that your child is able to listen and that you are able to continue what you're doing, right? So your child has to learn how to be in certain settings. I'm not saying they're going to be able to be there. Don't expect a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old to sit for 4 hours. That's ludicrous. All right. Their little bodies aren't made to do that. However, they can, inside voice. Teach your children not to yell all the time or to scream all the time. Teach them to have quiet times. So these are things that they're going to have to do. They're going to have to learn it. And you want to make sure that I hear a lot, oh, Miss Tanya, my child acts like this with you, but not with me. And I always say every parent should have a parenting class. I don't care. I'm an advocate. I was just blessed to be able to do it through my profession, but it helped me with my parenting as well. And so follow up and follow through. If nothing else today, I hope that you follow up and follow through, and that you continue to make the right choices so that your child can be a productive citizen. And then we can deal. I always say this because, again, so many times I get the question of, okay, what are they learning? What are they learning? Children learn through play. They learn through their interactions. Trust me, they're learning from you, right? Unfortunately, I've had children come into my program cursing. Well, where did they learn that from? They didn't learn it from us. They've only been here 3 days. This is something that was already transpiring with where they are. So they're learning. They're learning. So just make sure that you are modeling good behavior. And if you're upset or have a moment, because these are emotions that we all have, that you are expressing that to your children in a positive manner. Okay? So I hope that this helped you, listen, to find out your parenting style and to make, oh, thank you, Erica. God bless you. Oh, hey. Yeah, because, oh, Erica, hey, sweetheart. Yeah, you want to make sure that, and I understand, and I see this, just want to touch one other thing. I see a lot where sometimes when parents have had challenges with, even maybe having children, or something of that nature, they have a propensity to allow the child to get away with a lot of things. Don't do that. Okay. That is the worst thing you can do. Your child is here. They're healthy. They're whole. It's okay. And you need to set boundaries, right? I know they're your baby. Listen, I have two. I still look at my oldest son like, oh no, my baby. But he's not my baby. They're going to grow up. And you want them to be able to manage their behaviors. I'm telling you, as a parent and as an educator, as a teacher, we want to see if your child can listen, because it could be something where, what if a dog was coming? What if a car was coming? These are the questions I want parents to start asking themselves. What if this was happening and you don't have control of the situation as a parent? And so I hope this has helped you all. Thank you. Have a wonderful day and keep parenting. All right. Thank you for tuning in.